All right, here we go. It's Wednesday. We're again working on five-step equations here. So make sure that you're looking at your reference sheet. Your reference sheet is going to help you to do this. Follow each one of these, and I gave you a new reference sheet. It says step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. You're going to say all 5 steps. The issue is if you need to skip one, you can. On these, you're going to use all 5 steps today. I don't think I have any of these that are going to be. There might be one that somehow a term will cancel out, but I didn't do it on purpose. So the first thing that it says is distribute. So we are going to define the distribute part. That is this part right here, because that has the parentheses and the number that is attached to the parentheses, which means multiplication. So we do 2 times n, which is the 1, and 2 times 7. Now, 2 times 1 is 2. You need to make sure that because they have an n together, that n comes down. That was some mistakes that I saw in people's papers yesterday. So 2 times 7 is 14, and we want to put a plus there because it's positive 14, and we just bring down the negative 4n, we bring down everything else. The only part we worked on was this part right here. These numbers just come down. This is what we changed right here. So remember, 2 times 1, you have to bring the n with. Some people drop the n, and then you combine the wrong thing. So we have distribute. The second thing is combine like terms. We can't do anything on this side. We can combine over here. We have our variables, the n2, the 2n, and the negative 4n. And by the way, everything else just comes down. We're not even worried about the rest of that stuff. All that's outside that circle comes down. But we take 2 plus negative 4, which ends up being negative 2, and it has an n. Because they both have an n, it has to have an n. So make sure that you're putting the n on there. Somehow we're losing n's, and we can't do that. That variable has to remain. Well, our next step, we distributed, we combine like terms. You're going to do this steps every time. Now we're going to get rid of the extra variable. Somebody yesterday was getting rid of the numbers. We can't do that. We are getting rid of the variables. So that's these variables here. And we'd prefer the lowest. If you don't know, lowest or less, there's a number line in the bottom of your reference sheet. So there is 2, and there is negative 2. Well, negative 2 is closer to the less, so that is our less. So we're going to add 2n to both sides of the equation. The minus 2n and the positive 2n are gone, or plus. The minus 2n plus 2n are opposites. 2 plus 2 is 4, and make sure that you bring the n with. We bring down everything else, the 26, and we're going to put a plus there because 4 is positive, and we're going to also bring down that 14. You can see how these steps just over and over again, it's the same thing. We distributed, we combined like terms, we got rid of the variable, not the number, the variable. We're going to get rid of the number now that is added or subtracted to that n. Well, that is 4 times n. If I cover up just the 4, I have 26 plus n, so it's the 26 we're going after. That n, because it's attached, is the very last thing that we do. So since plus 26, we're going to subtract 26 from both sides of the equation. Our opposite operations are gone here. We're left with 4n equals, and 14 minus 26 should be what, negative 12? And the very last thing that you're going to do is to go ahead, and I'm going to use this yellow, see if it'll pop up, but I doubt it. Oh yeah, it came up. Is we're going to divide, and we divide by the number in front. That's awful. It's too dark or too light. We're going to divide by the number in front of the variable, which is 4. Those numbers are opposite operations because it's times and divide. We're left with n, and negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. So once again, we distributed, we combined like terms, got rid of the extra variable, we got rid of what's added or subtracted to the variable, we got rid of what's multiplied or divided by the variable. So that's what we do. We follow those steps each and every time, regardless. If there's 2 steps, we still follow all 5 steps. We just choose not to do them if we don't have to. Here's number 2. We're going to separate one side or the other, because when we get to our opposite operations, that's steps 3 through 5. We need to do that. We're looking for our distribute part. Well, there is a 1 right there, a -1, so I'm putting that in. And it's this part right here. So we're going to distribute here. Everything else, don't even need to worry about it. That stuff all comes down. -1 times 1, -1. -1 times -4v is positive 4v. Don't forget your variable. You forget that variable, you're done. It's over with. The whole problem is wrong. So we distributed. Now we're going to combine like terms. Well, that one has a v and this one has a v, so they're like terms. There's nothing alike over here. One's a v, one's a non. So 5 plus 4 is 9v, and I can bring down that -1. The equals the 5v, the plus 27. Well, we're going to get rid of the extra variable. This is the part where some people are messing up too. You can't take the 1 and the 27. Those are numbers. We're looking at the variables. So 9 times v and 5 times v. So we're going to take the less. And this one should be easy. 5 is smaller than 9. So since it's plus 5, we're going to subtract 5v. Don't just put 5 because we're subtracting the variable. It's 5v minus 5 times v. So our opposite operations plus 5v and minus 5v are gone. We're left with just a 27 on that side. The equals 9 minus 5 is 4v, and then bring down what's outside, which is that -1. So we distributed. We combined like terms. We got rid of the extra variable. Now we're going to get rid of what's added or subtracted to that v. There's the v. The 4 is attached to the v, so we know that's going to be last because we have v minus 1. So we're going to add 1 to both sides of the equation. Our 4v comes down. Our opposite operations are gone. 27 plus 1 is 28. And we are going to divide by 4, the last step. Always, 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 right? That division, that's why we saved that multiplication part there. And 28 divided by 4 is 7. Whoop, I'm off the paper. There we go. Divided by the 4, 28 divided by 4 is 7. We'll do one more example. This is our third day on this, so you can also watch the videos from the last 2 days, and those will give you the information that you need. Hang on. Go ahead and sharpen it there. So once again, we're going to look at this part right here. That's our distribute part. We know that everything else just comes down. What we're doing is making these problems smaller and smaller. So we want to distribute. -5 times 4n is -20n. Make sure you remember your n. And -5 times 8 is -40. And then we brought that plus 7n, the 16, the 5n down. We distributed. Our next step is to combine like terms. All of these, for some reason, it's the variables that combine. But if there weren't a variable and there were 2 without a variable, those 2 would go together. You should know that. There's nothing to combine over here, n and non-n. So -20 plus 7 is -13n. We want the -40 comes down. The rest of this, the other side all comes down because we only combined on one side. Could we combine over here? Sure, some problems might have that, but we don't have one there now. If we read this, we distributed, we combine like terms, we have to get rid of the extra variable. We're not looking at the 16 or the 40, we're looking at our n's. Which one is lower or less amount? Well, we're looking at -13, which is right over here, and -5, which is here. Well, -13 is much further to the left, so we're going to add 13n. Once again, if you chose to add 5n, the problem's not going to be wrong. You're just going to be working with a negative number or negative coefficient. So our opposite operations, -13 plus 13n, are both gone. We're going to bring down that -40, the equals, the 16, and -5 plus 13 is 8. positive 8n. Don't forget your n. They're n's, they have an n. So we distributed, we combined like terms, we got rid of the extra variable. Now we're going to add and subtract. Well, the 8 is attached to the n, so that's what we're going to keep. And if I cover up that 8, you'll see it's 16 plus n. If I cover up the 16, you see that's 8 times n. So it's a 16. It's a positive 16, so we subtract 16 from both sides of the equation. Our opposite operations are gone. We bring down that 8 times n. Negative 40 minus 16 is negative 56. And finally, the last thing that we're going to do is divide by 8. Our 8s are gone. We're left with n. And negative 56 divided by 8 is negative 7. So there you go for you folks at home. Watch the videos again. You can watch yesterday's video. You can watch Monday's video. You can watch all those. They all have examples that run exactly the same. Distribute, combine like terms, get rid of the extra variable, get rid of what's added or subtracted to the variable, get rid of what's multiplied or divided to the variable, and you get your answer. Same steps over and over again. It's the process. It's not the numbers. And you'll see that all of these, as I take these off and put these together, look at the commonality they have. Distribute, combine like terms. They all look the same. It's the process, not the numbers. Okay? Don't forget about your variables, though, and your negatives. Have a good day.